Hello everyone and welcome to Geek Anime channel. I'm your detective host Igor, and today I want to talk to you about, not from, finally, The Widow's Bay. Now, I was a little bit hesitant whether I'm gonna do deep dives on this TV show or not, because my channel is rather small to popularize something, and I was really excited to see bigger channels like, for example, Thrifty Typewriter talking about this TV show. But after episode 3, doesn't really matter what's gonna happen with those videos, if they're gonna be watched by 5 people or by 5,000 people, I'm still gonna do some breakdowns, because now I'm confident that this is the TV show in my lane, and especially for my audience. And I want to break this video into 3 parts. The first one, in case you haven't watched even one episode, I'm gonna tell you a short synopsis and I'm gonna explain to you why I think it's very good for the audience of my channel. In the second part, I want to discuss the lore of this TV show. Now, after episode 3, I'm confident that there is like one uniting story for everything that we have seen so far. And in the third part, I want to tell you some of my theories, what I think actually is happening there. So if you're ready, let's start. Widow's Bay is a new original show by Apple TV, which means it's not adapted from any book or story, it's not the remake, shmemake, or whatever this usual nonsense that Hollywood does for the last 10-20 years. Now, for the life of me, I still cannot understand how Apple can be the biggest marketing company in the world by far, but their TV shows are completely under the radar, except of couple, exceptions. And Widow's Bay getting less than 1,000 reviews right now, and in my opinion this is already one of the best TV shows of this year. So a very short synopsis. We have a small island, it's called Widow's Bay. It's an isolated island, it doesn't even have any Wi-Fi, its infrastructure is pretty bad, and everybody in town have some kind of a superstition story. A lot of horror beliefs about ghosts and zombies and killer clowns. You name it. Whatever it was invented by human history to scare people in the night, it's somehow presented in this island. And our main hero protagonist, Tom Loftis, who is a new elected mayor, even though he ran against no competition, he's trying to change that. He wants to bring tourists to this place. He wants to get some money stream so he will be able to restore this island, to make it more modern and make it more livable for himself and for his son. Now, some people will probably argue with me here that this is his main motivation, but I kind of have a feeling that the fact that his son is completely suffering here in this island is what motivates him and drives him to, make all those changes.
Because there's nothing to do during normal hours. Okay, this island is like a prison.
There is a very interesting detail about Tom. He was not born in this island, and this is why a lot of the residents are looking at him like he's some kind of an outsider, like he's about to ruin this place. And the whole TV show starts at 2 a.m. with an earthquake, which we later get to know that this is how the island wakes up. He's been laying dormant for many years, and now she is finally awake, and with it, very weird things starting to happen on the island. So the main premise is how Tom will be able to navigate between, those superstitions and weird things that are happening in this island and the new stream of tourists coming here and probably not actually getting to a very safe place. Now, if you're not new to my channel, you know exactly what we're doing here. With TV shows like From, Severance, Silo, many others that are very similar, we like to dive very deep and we like to discover some historical references, some references to science. We want to see what's behind, what's beneath the tip of the iceberg. And this is why I think many of you will enjoy Widow's Bay. Just in the first episode, Tom is calling for a writer for New York Times to actually write a piece about Widow's Bay. And he's meeting him in the historical museum of this island. And we right away get to know so many interesting things. So for example, just in a museum there's already an article about Father Albertus that was eaten by a whale that breached the shoreline and somehow swallowed him whole. We can see that some guy died mysteriously standing right next to his horse. But the more interesting part is that in 1863 there was some kind of a storm that drove people to hide in the church, and after 4 days they all turned into cannibalism. Now if we zoom in to this article and we actually look closer at the building, we can see that there's some kind of a scary, creepy figure standing in one of the windows. There are many different moments like this. We can see, for example, a calendar which is titled Wolves, and all of the months have actually wolves on them, but for some reason one of the months is actually showing us a car crash, which is probably gonna play somehow later. But what actually got me hooked on this TV show in all of this horror mystery salad, and there was a lot of different aspects of it, it looks like, the creators are actually doing their homework. They're not just inventing things. This is actually somehow either connected to our horror history or to our actual history. In episode 1, for example, there is a fog that kidnaps people, and one of the people that being kidnapped is a sailor named Shep, and when he actually find him, his eyes turn to white, which is actually a very common trope used in literature and mythologies and religion. And usually this is how people who lose their soul, they lose their identity, actually portrayed. But the most interesting part is when Wick, it's also a very interesting character that is basically there to create some kind of a tension between him and Loftis, and he is there to tell us all the stories about this island. He is the warning sign. He is there to scream, don't come here, this is a place where you're all going to die. And he is saying to us a story about, for example, SS Mary that disappeared. And this is actually a real legend. There was a ship named SS Mary that was found untouched, but the crew was missing. And as far as I know, we do have an answer for this mystery. The historians, they all pretty much agree on the same solution, even though some people not. But once again, the creators are not just inventing things. They are taking something that we, the audience that likes to deep dive, can actually use and can actually search for. Well, obviously they have less original, let's say, concepts of horror. For example, the usual killer clowns. They have a version of Bloody Mary there.
Ugly Hortons. Ugly Hortons. Ugly Hortons.
Very interesting table games with a hint of misogyny, sorry, not a hint, with a lot of misogyny there, and very interesting figurines to play with, which all together creates a very deep vibe of this, like this isolated place with its own lore, with its own magic, with its own history, and obviously mystery. And this brings me to the lore part of my video. So as I told you, there is one storyline that connects everything. As we know already from Wick's stories that, the island wakes up always with an earthquake. I don't know whether the time 205 is actually important or not, but, since they show it to us a couple of times, maybe it has some significance, maybe not. Later, we know that for some reason, bells of a church, which is impossible that they will actually be ringing, actually start to ring. But luckily this is not the first time when the island is awakening, so there are some writings for the priest of the church and with explanations what you need to do if something like this actually happens, because this is obviously not regular thing for this place. I've showed you the image. Those bells are not supposed to be ringing, but they are. And in episode 3 we can see that the priest has seen something in a well, he heard something in a well, which kind of forced him to go and say this weird thing.
There is evil here.
And in episode 1 we have seen that deep under the ground there are some tunnels, and in the lowest level of them all there is a bunker and there is some kind of a torture chair. So it's somehow obviously connected with the history of this place. Now another interesting thing about Widow's Bay is there's some kind of weird things with time here. We see the sailor Shep, and we can see that his age in his medical card is 37, which obviously not. And at one point, Patricia, the girl who assists the mayor, she's saying, so my biological age is 28, and it kind of feels like she was just discovering this, like she didn't even know how old is she. And obviously when we look at her, we see that she's not 28 years old. And in episode 2 there is also a very interesting moment, time related. The mayor, he kind of made a bet with everybody in town that if he's gonna spend the night in the inn, which is basically, as I told you, a salad of horror, there's like 25 different horror stories that are just connected to this inn, but if he's gonna spend the night there, they're gonna stop with all the superstitious talk and they're not gonna go to the tourists and tell them they're all gonna die here. So they made a bet, and he actually spent the night there, and it was a horrible night for him. If you have seen the TV show, you already know. If you haven't, this is your sign to go and actually check this out. But eventually, the innkeeper, he is also there to prove to Wick that this place is safe, and he's going to the captain's suite and they lock him in for 10 seconds. But as soon as they open up the door, he's saying,
What the fuck? I thought we said 10 seconds.
Well, that was 10. How long do you think you were in there?
and it's really weird because they were counting way less than 10 seconds. They were counting like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, opening the door, and the guy was angry at them because he felt like it was way longer. But it's not just the feeling, because they close him again for just 30, 40 seconds, and when it's open up, we can see that this whole room is completely destroyed. Like everything is being thrown, and you know, there's like black mold, and it looks like he was there for hours and hours and hours. So once again, how is the time actually moving in this place? So far, it's a mystery for me. Now, I actually promised you that I have some kind of a theory for what's going on here. In every episode, we get to know the creator, the inventor, the founder of this place. This island was discovered in 1681 by some Puritan named Richard Warren. With him on his ship, there were another 41 passengers.
42 passengers from the mainland embarked by sea to find a settlement they could call their own.
Yeah, no, the 43 passengers in.
I think it's a little early for that story, Jerry.
I'm sorry, 42, altogether 43, and as we have seen right now, Tom is really uneager to tell this story to the writer. He doesn't want him to know at this point all of the superstition stories, all of the horror elements. He doesn't want to scare potential tourists. So it kind of makes us think that this story concerning the 43rd passenger is probably a very bloody one. And also, I wouldn't necessarily say that Richard Warren and the other Puritans discovered this place where nobody was ever living here, because
Totally empty island.
Except for the teeth.
Yeah.
you know, teeth usually don't grow from the ground. Teeth are usually remains of somebody. So if Richard Warren arrived and seen there some kind of a teeth, maybe there were some kind of a people there. Probably there were some kind of a people there. Maybe those people actually have some connection to magical forces. Maybe they know how to throw curses and different people. Who knows? But there's also a very interesting detail about Richard Warren. In episode 3, we get to learn that he actually had a wife and then he remarried. And you know, in this place, Puritans, the Salem witches burning and everything is kind of, you know, the connections are actually coming by themselves here to my head. And also, you know, like this moment.
The witch trial, a great source of pride. We caught them, we burned them.
You know what? You know what, Jerry?
It kind of connects, right? It makes sense. If there were 43 people, and we don't talk about the 43rd one, maybe because it was Richard Warren's wife. Probably she was somehow connected to this location, to this place, and maybe Richard Warren wanted to remarry, but didn't know exactly how to do this, so he blamed his wife, his first wife, that she's a witch. And they burned them, and they're very proud of this moment, and now he can remarry and find a new wife. And we don't talk about this horrible, scary story to new visitors. Now, maybe I'm drawing parallels here with From, just, you know, because I'm so much into From right now, but kind of makes me feel that maybe his first wife was cursing this place. She was the one to create this curse. Maybe for some reason, somehow, she's still locked in the bunker, and she's the one that wakes up the island and starts all of these horrific events. Possible, but once again, why nobody can leave this place? I mean, Tom was even lying about this moment when the writer asks him, like, what about your son? He was born here, and Tom was saying, yeah, he obviously have been to the mainland, but in episode 3 we get a confirmation that he wasn't. So the curse actually works. Once again, it's kinda implied / confirmed in the TV show. There is still a possibility that this is all some kind of a hallucination, blah blah blah, whatever, but it's gonna be a very big stretch from the creator's parts to actually make, you know, scientific sense of everything that is happening there. So at this point, I'm 99% convinced that this is mystical, mysterious, you know, magical, horrific place, and it's gonna be explained from this lens. And it also has a very interesting connection to history and, you know, literature and mythology, which makes it exactly the TV show that I'm talking about on my channel. I mean, we're not talking here about who went there and recap and schmeak-up. We are actually trying to find different layers. Like, if there's something to dig and deep dive in the TV show, I'm in, sign me in, and think most of my audience will actually enjoy this too. Now, I try to make this video both for people who haven't seen and for people who have seen. Starting with the next one, it's gonna be just for the people that have seen the TV show and are actually following and looking for details and want to know exactly what theories we can build. And you know, episode 3 ended with a big cliffhanger, so episode 4 I have big expectation for it. Now let me know in the comments, do you watch this TV show? Are you planning to watch it? Maybe this is just something that you still didn't do. Did I convince you to give it a chance? I would love to know your opinion. And thanks so much to everybody who supports me on YouTube members and Patreon. Your financial help, your support is what makes this channel possible. I'm gonna see you all in the next one. Meanwhile, bye!